Namaste and good morning to all of you. Let's start our Upanishad class with the prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo, Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhuvava Swaha, Tatsavitravare Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodaya. Asto Ma Satgamya, Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya, Mrityurma Amritam Gamya. Om Sehna Bhavatu Sehna Bhunatu Saviryam Karvavahi, Tejasvi Navadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let's do the Shanti mantra from this Upanishad also, Taittiriya Upanishad. Om Shannaho Mitraha Sham Varunaha Sham No Bhavatu Arema Sham Naha Indro Brihaspati Sham No Vishnu Urukrama Namo Brahmane Namate Vayo Tvam Eva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvam Eva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami Ritam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tatmam Avatu Tatvaktaram Avatu Mam Avatu Vaktaram. Om Shanti 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 Om. So Taittiriya Upanishad, and we saw last week the series of the verses where this Rishi is telling us the state of perfection which we are all moving towards or should be moving towards is the state of desirelessness. Okay, so we got to work on our worldly desires, the material desires. Okay? Because he said the person who doesn't have those desires is many-fold joyful than the person who is even in the Satloka, Brahma's Loka. And what can we say about this Prithvi Lok then? Okay, so desirelessness. So spiritual joy is qualitatively on a different plane than worldly joy. So even the joy of Brahma, the creator, although pure and great, cannot be the bliss which is the supreme reality. Supreme reality. So now in the same section, the last verse, and different books, they have a different numbering, so that's why we get confused sometimes. But this is verse number 12. So it's like a last verse in this section. Okay, so section 8, last verse. Sa yacha ayam purushe yacha asau aditye sa ekaha sa ya evam vit asmat lokat pretye etam anmayam atmanam upsankramati etam pranmayam atmanam upsankramati etam manomayam atmanam upsankramati etam vigyanmayam atmanam upsankramati etam anandmayam atmanam upsankramati tat api eshaha shlokaha bhavati. So means that, ya means which, cha means and, ayam this, purushe in man, in a person. Ya means which, cha means and, asau that, aditya in the sun. Sa means that, ekaha one. Sa is he, ya means who, evam with, no, thus. Asmat lokat, from this world. Pretye, living. Etam means this, anmayam, atmanam, atma made of food. Upasankramati, next attains or crosses over. Etam this, pranmayam atmanam, atma made of prana. Upasankramati, crosses over. Manomayam Atmanam, Atma made of mind. So we are all familiar with these terms because we have been learning these. Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya. Then Vijnanamayam, that is the knowledge. Anandamayam, made of a bliss. That means that api also, esha this, shalokaha verse, bhavati there is. The reality in the core of the person and the reality which is the sun are one. That's what he's trying to tell us. The essence is the one. That reality is the same everywhere. He who knows this, knows means who has realized this, experienced this, on leaving from this world, first attains the Atma made of food. Next attains this Atma made of prana. Next attains this Atma made of buddhi. And lastly attains the Atma made of bliss. Regarding this, there is the following verse. So we have seen that throughout this scripture, Rishi is quoting something and then he says that the Vedas say the same thing. I'm not giving any new philosophy over here. So that's how he's establishing ourself into this sense of a transcendental perfection. That's the only way we can experience ourselves. Experience of oneself with the entire universe. Not just me and God, but all this creation also, nothing but Brahma. This is what we need to experience. A person who realizes the spirit in him as the spiritual center in the sun also realizes that he is himself at once. That center which controls the experiences. It's like a circle of his own world. And also the center defined by the sun that holds together is like a center of the cosmos also. There's no difference. This is the oneness he's talking about. So the consciousness lends life to the mind. Over here, when I'm using the word consciousness, that means the Atma. Lends life to the intellect. That's how we perceive, that's how we feel, that's how we think. Whether it's a sorrow we are feeling or whether we are joy we are feeling. We are feeling it only because the consciousness. So in the realization that I am that consciousness, the man of wisdom comes to transcend his limited small world I-ness and myness, or even the intellectual limitation also is dropped down. This is what's called the union. This is what's called yoga. So it is the transcendence of the pettiness of the mortal and its evolution into the transcendental. This is called a divine glory. Okay, so leaving this body does not mean that after the death of this body, leaving the body means detaching from this body. Leaving the body means non-identification with the lower. So it's not that anybody who dies will feel this. We got to learn how to die while we are living here. Non-identification with the lower. And a seeker who has come to experience his oneness with the spiritual center in the cosmos has also experienced a slow and steady transcendence of his false and delusory identification with the 5 sheaths also. That's why he's mentioning all these sheaths over here. It's like a realizing stage by stage. The Annamaya Kosh is not me. The Pranamaya Kosh is not real me. And who is vitalizing these koshas? consciousnesses. So that's how we learn to live and experience the pure attributes, self, which is Brahm, invisible, undefined, abodiless. And he says this declaration is fully supported by the Vedic mantra quoted next. So now let's look at the section 9, verse number 1. Yataha vachaha nirvatante aprapye manasahas anandam brahmana vidwan na vibheti kuschan iti. Yata means from which. Vachaha, the words. Nirvatante, returns. Aprapye, without reading. Manasa saha, along with the mind. Saha means with, manasa means the mind. Anandam, bliss. Brahmanaha, vidwan, the one who knows. Na vibheti, not afraid. Kuschan, anything, iti means thus. So this is like a Vedic mantra, which translates into he who knows the bliss of Brahma, from which all words return without reaching it. Together with the mind, is no more afraid of anything. So this Vedic mantra is declaring that mental sheath, sure it is very strong, mental sheath, but whether it's a mental sheath or a verbal sheath or any other sheath, really cannot talk about or explain the bliss of the self, the bliss of the Brahma. Returns back means it really cannot talk about it. No matter how eloquently we speak, we really cannot explain that joy, the bliss of Brahma. No matter how bright our mind is, it returns back. It cannot explain it. It cannot comprehend it. Continuation of this verse, next one. Etagamam havavna taptihi kim aham sadhu na akarvam kim aham papam akarvam iti sa ya evam vidwan ete atmanagam sa prinute ubhehi ev eshaha ete atmanagam sa prinute ya evam ved iti Upanishad. Etagam, such, like such thoughts. Ha means, of course, vav, certainly. Not tapati, does not distress. Kim means why, aham I, sadhu, good. No akarvam, I have not done. Kim means why, aham I, papam, sins. Akarvam, I have committed. Iti means thus. Sa means he, ya who, evam this, vidwan, the knower. Ete these, atmanagam, the atma. Sa prinutehe, regard. Ubhe, both. He means verily, ev means this, esha, thus. Ete these, atmanagam, as atma. Sa prinutehe, knows. Ya means who, evam thus, ved, knows, like realizes. Iti means thus, Upanishad. Such thoughts. Why I have not done what is good? Sadhu. Why I have committed a sin? Do not certainly come to distress a man of experience of the truth. He who knows this regards both these as the Atma. Verily, both these are regarded by him who knows thus as only Atma. Thus ends the Upanishad. So this Iti Upanishad, that's what it means. The Upanishad actually ends over here. So the joy of virtues and the sorrows of sin are both conditions of the mind. When it comes to react between a certain circumstances in the outer world, or sometimes it's a particular intellectual conditions within, that's what we are saying. This is sinful and this is virtuous. When a person grows more and more in his knowledge, many of his instinct motivated actions fall off. And the chances are that completely incapable of doing anything. So he will not do any sin. By nature, his actions will be pure. But definitely there is no more his egocentric self. That I am doing good, or I am such a great person, or I'm performing these rituals, that I has fallen down. So sinful action definitely will not happen, but he doesn't even get involved in it mentally or even intellectually. But even the pious deeds also, he does it, but without claiming that I'm doing it. That's what it means over here. So apart from the fact that a person of wisdom and perfection will not misbehave or act sinfully, he's feeling the oneness also with the principle of life within himself, and he tries live fully the truth that his body, his mind, his intellect, they are all belonging to this Prakriti, this outer world. Nothing is mine. This body is made out of 5 elements. The mind is made out of subtle parts of those elements too. Nothing is mine. So if nothing is mine, I'm not doing anything. It's almost like a sun is not soiled. If there is some kind of a murder is being happening under the sun, sun is only giving the light. Sun is not accruing any karmas. Whether it's an auspicious ritual or whether it's a sinful action, the same thing happens to this kind of a person, the realized person. He's calling it a wise person. So the mental and intellectual conditions do not in any way limit the glory of the conscious principle, which we call Atma. So this Rishi is feeling so much confident in that realization of a seeker, that he is declaring that such a perfect person is beyond the bounds of all rules, and that he, in his perfect tuning with the infinite, is incapable of producing even a single bad action. In fact, this kind of a wise person, whatever he says becomes the mantra. What he does is the ethics and the morality for his generations to follow. The way this person walks, the way this person talks, whatever he does, he's a role model for others. Because this kind of a master always lives in unison with the infinite consciousness. Neither his external actions, nor his feeling, nor his thoughts can ever go the wrong way. We may not understand it sometimes because we are looking at it from our mental capacity. We like to judge, but this person is beyond that, fully tuned to that higher music. So when a man of perfection is living in the Lord, because he sees God everywhere, it's like a divine unison with the infinite. His mind and intellect cannot come to do anything selfishness. There's no ego motivated false feelings. Then towards the end, he says, here ends the Upanishad. See, these days we have the books. We can look at it. Upanishad hasn't ended. But in olden times, all of this was taught orally. There were no books. So when he says, here ends the Upanishad, that means the philosophical portion of this Upanishad has ended. The deep teachings of the Upanishad has ended. Even though there's another chapter left, which is called Bhrigu Valli, over there it's all practice. That also tells us that only theoretically learning something is not enough. We have to practice it also. So when something is repeated by mouth at the end of a section, or even at the end of the chapter, clearly it's marked by a direct statement of here ends the Upanishad. And that's why there is this, again, little prayer. Om sahano avatu sahano bhunaktu sah viryam karvavehi tejasvino adhitamastu ma vidvi shavahi. And we are all familiar with that. That may we learn all this peacefully. No arguments, no quarrel between the teacher and the taught. So we sing that every day, and then we do Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So now the next chapter. This is a chapter 3. Let's just revise the first 2 chapters. We learned the Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam is the goal of life. That's the destination for all of us. That is like a fulfillment of evolution, the ascent of a person to Godhood. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. The infinite truth. Stage by stage, we got to ascend ourselves. Then he told us that from the Supreme, the 5 great elements came. Out of the grossest element, earth, came food. And from food, a person was born, a man was born. Analyzing the various personality layers in us, we were told of the 5 great sheaths, each subtler than the other. And beneath lies the truth as the substratum for all. So life giver is the Atma to all of them. The question whether that reality is non-existent, non-entity, or an existent, can we experience that factor, was also discussed. And in order to show that it is an existent factor, we were told how it is the lawgiver. That's why he used the word fearing. Fearing whom the phenomenal world strictly obeys the laws of nature. He talked about the sun, the moon, the earth. Also, we are told how that pure infinite consciousness is full of rasa also. It is not restless. It's full of rasa, full of joy. The statistics of joy emphasized here is that one who is devoid of desires comes to experience the Supreme. And it was explained that out of the Supreme, 5 great elements came up because he desired. The end of desire is the end of creation. That's what we learned. So a lot of philosophical ideas, philosophical ideals. He told us, but all those ideas and ideals in themselves are not enough. They don't satisfy a person. So that's why the quality of this philosophy should be judged from the practicality of it. So that's why there was an urgent need felt to indicate the techniques of realization, so that each and every student, the seeker, can reach the same goal after following those instructions. So for this purpose, in this scripture, this Rishi is providing us with the third chapter. And we see that student and a teacher, they are brought together face to face. The student, through the path of correct analysis and deep meditations, is able to undress himself of his matter clothing. All these layers, you can unclothe yourself. That means non-identification with the body, non-identification with the prana, non-identification of the mind or the intellect, or even the Anand Kosh. Because ultimately we have to rediscover ourselves. Another beautiful part of this next chapter is the dialogue is between a son and a father. Father is the guru, son is the disciple. And the names are Varun and Bhrigu. So Bhrigu, a son, a youngster, approaching his own father Varun, the teacher, very humbly he requests him to initiate him into the knowledge of Brahma. That's why the name of this section is called, or this chapter is called Bhrigu Valli, because of the name of that youngster. Again, there's a Shanti part before this. Om Sahno Avtu Sahno Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karvavahe Tejasvi No Adhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Very first verse on this chapter. Bhrigu ve varunihi varunam pitram upsansar. Adihi bhagvaha brahm iti tasme etat provacha. Annam pranam chakshu shrotram mana vacham iti. Bhrigu, that's a Rishi Bhrigu. Where means well known. Varuni, son of Varun. Varunam, unto Varun. Pitram, his father. Upsansar, reached. Adhihi, to teach me. Bhagwa, Bhagwan. See, that's why I said very humbly, he's calling his father Bhagwan. Brahma, what is Brahma? Iti das. Tasmai, to him, etat this, provach, said. Annam, food. Pranam, prana. Chakshu, eyes. Shrotram, ears. Manaha, mind. Vacham, speech. Iti means thus. Bhrigu, the well-known son of Varun, approached his father, Varun, and requested, "O revered sir, teach me Brahma." Varun said to him, "Food, pran, the eyes, the ears, the mind, and the speech are Brahma." So in this chapter, the scene opens with this narration. Actually, it's almost like a dot and the dashes. So this is how, see, even this these days, if somebody wants to write a shorthand, that's what they do. A lot of things are missing in the shorthand. But a person who knows the language can read it in full. We can see a young boy with full enthusiasm, with all humbleness and a meek surrender, approaches his own father. After due prostration, in a choked voice of reverence and adoration, he murmurs his great desire. Says, show me, O Lord, the nature of reality. You can imagine the smile of satisfaction on the face of the father, the Guru. Because as students, we need a Guru, but Guru is also eagerly looking for a disciple like this too. Sincere student always adds more color to the entire picture. Because Varun answers that the entire world of objects is nothing other than this subject expressed itself. So that's why he said, see, in this particular verse, we see the question also, we see the answer also. Annam pranam chakshu shrota mana vachaniti. So in order to emphasize the idea that everything, the world of objects, had risen from this divinity, the teacher enumerates that Brahm is food, pran, eyes, ears, mind and speech. So what does it really mean? The teacher is saying that Brahm indicates the truth, which is the common substratum for all the manifestations in the universe. That's what he's saying. It's almost like when we look at the waves, we look at the foam, ripple, or lather. What is it? They're all but ocean. Or if there's a bunch of jewelry made out of gold, whether they are bangles or chain or ear studs, what are they? Nothing but gold. This is what he is saying. That and also, eyes also, the ears also, everything is nothing but Brahma. So this Guru is trying to indicate the truth through its manifestations. And in order that the student may not have even a trace of doubt, because sometimes a doubt remains, maybe this is not. That's why very carefully he is enumerating and scientifically he is explaining to him. Annam and pranam. Remember that an over here means the entire world of matter. It's not just the food. Entire world of matter which can be assimilated and used for preservation of the living creatures. So not just only the human beings, the other living creatures also. And pran means of all the vitality through which all of us living creatures feel alive with. Pran. That vital energy. And eyes and ears, these two are to indicate all the sense organs of perception. So if the first two terms indicated the entire world of objects, annam and pranam, these two, eyes and ears, they express the world of the subject also. So the other sense organs also, eyes and ears. And then next pair, he says, mind and speech. Mind is the receiving station which absorbs in. Through the senses, all the information goes into the mind. So the perception is received through the 5 gateways of knowledge, Gyanindriya. And again, it is the mind that conveys the instructions and decisions of the intellect wherever it's concerned. So by the mind, all our activities are indicated. And speech is a representative of all our organs of actions. So all the Karamindriyas also, and all the Gyanindriyas also. Speech is especially mentioned because it is through speech we hear and come to understand the truth. It is through speech we convey the same truth to others. This power to speak in a human being, because we can articulate so beautifully, is the greatest power we have. We should never misuse it. Power to speak. So he says mind and speech. So all these together constitute the reality. Nothing but a superimposition upon the truth. So all of these, no matter how bright the mind is or the intellect is or how articulately we can speak, it's nothing without Brahma, that supreme, the absolute. When the father, the teacher, he said this, he must have noticed a look of dissatisfaction in that young boy's face. And that's why he continues further, and he gives him instructions also to practice. Without practice, you really cannot comprehend it. So that practical aspect has to be there. Just like in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna kept saying that I am everywhere. But Arjuna wanted to see it. Without actually experiencing it, he really could not see the glory of God everywhere. So the same thing over here. The Guru is saying the substratum for everything is nothing but Brahma. But the young boy is dissatisfied with it because he has not experienced it. Teacher has experienced it. He is saying it from that kind of a conviction, that kind of a faith, but the student doesn't have that yet. He needs to do some homework. And we will see that what kind of a homework this great teacher is giving to his student, his own son. He's not saying that I'm going to put my hand on your head and you will be a realized person. He will send him away. He will say, do the tapasya, do the meditation, do your own walking also, so that you can experience it. No shortcuts. Let's stop it here because we'll just ending at a good spot, and we'll start from here next week. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.